What's going on, everybody? It's Pito, aka PT Sports 84, back with another NBA 2K26 player rating update. So we've gotten to the end of the calendar year, and so 2K's dropped their last official player ratings update. This is player ratings update number 4, and so 2K kind of went a little light on this one, if I'm being honest. We got some last minute changes to some players, things like that. Just a note in this one for anybody that's going to ask, there is no retro content added in. So, nothing there. Also, you'll notice something weird with the injuries. It looks like they took injuries off for a lot of players that aren't out for a significant time because obviously you're going to get new players that come in and get the game for Christmas and things like that. So they adjusted for that. So they took off like any non-lingering injuries. No player faces updated or anything like that. Those are strictly via patch. Really quickly, for those that don't know, we did get James Harden's new shoes. We got the Harden 10s in as well. There's a couple other shoes that have different colorways in the My Player option that aren't available in the regular roster. I just want to check really quick. Jason Tatum, I don't think we got nope. We didn't get the Tatum 4s, so that'll probably come in a later update, probably season 4 maybe. I'm not really sure what's going on with those, but just wanted to get a couple of those housekeeping notes out of the way. Also, I'll be highlighting if there's any significant player position changes. There were a few in this update that I noticed. I didn't have my usual time to track everything as I normally do, just because the update came out later than normal. Usually it's about 9:30 Eastern time. It came out about 11:30 Eastern time. So 2 hours difference. I was already into my workday, had a meeting and stuff like that. So that's why this video is delayed and why it's live. I haven't done a live in a long time. So let's jump into the ratings updates. So 76ers are up first. Joel Embiid goes -1 to an 89 overall. We get Paul George bumping up +2 to an 83 overall. VJ Edgecombe looks like he's over his little slump that he had early on. +1 for him to an 81 overall. Dominic Barlow goes +2 to a 76 overall. We get Jared McCain dropping -2 to a 75. And then Kyle Lowry dropping -1 to a 74. We move over to the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, all the news is about Giannis. Looking at their team, Kevin Porter Jr. gets a well-deserved bump, +4 to an 82. He's been killing it this season. Moving over to Bobby Portis Jr., +1 to an 80. Cole Anthony has struggled really badly, -1 for him to a 77. Position change and a ratings change for Gary Trent Jr. He moves to small forward, +1 for him to a 76. Oddly enough, Gary Harris is actually, like, technically, I guess, the 2. They left him as a 3, but it is what it is. Moving over to the Chicago Bulls. Now, this one I don't understand. When I was going through, I didn't get it. But Josh Giddey goes -1 to an 84. Didn't quite get that one. Nikola Vucevic goes -2 to an 82. I thought maybe he can drop more. He hasn't been great for them. Ayu Dosunmu goes -1 to a 78. Zach Collins gets a +1 to a 76. Javon Carter +1 to a 74. So not a lot of changes for the Chicago Bulls. Moving over to the Cavaliers, they have been struggling badly. News came out this morning. Moving forward, that Jalen Tyson will now be the starting small forward. Big drop for Darius Garland, who has been really bad so far this year, -4 to an 81. You don't see a drop that significant from 2K often. They did it in this one. DeAndre Hunter goes -1. He's been struggling badly. And like I mentioned, Jalen Tyson is now the starting small forward. He gets a +1 bump to an 80. As I mentioned with the positions, you'll see Max Strus there. Or as the injuries, I mean, he is actually now without an injury. Lonzo Ball goes -1 to a 75. Naquan Tomlin goes +1 to a 75. And likewise with Dean Wade +1 to a 75. Moving over to the Boston Celtics, we get Jaylen Brown +1 to a 93 overall, +1 for Derek White to an 84. Anthony Simons drops -1 to a 79. Well-deserved bump. Finally, Jordan Walsh gets a +4 bump to a 79. Well-deserved for him. Much needed. Nehemias Keita gets a +1 bump to a 79. And then Sam Hauser gets another drop. He's been playing bad, probably based off of that game. I believe he went like 0 for 10 from 3. Not shooting a great. He goes -1 to a 74. Would have liked to seen Josh Minott go to center since he starts there whenever Minott doesn't play, but is what it is. Going over to the Clippers, we get a -2 for Brook Lopez to a 74. Still no change for Harden. I guess the 90 overall is where 2K thought they'd have him, and that's good enough. -1 for Nick Batum to a 74, +1 for Kobe Brown to a 72. Likewise for Kobe Sanders, +1 to a 72. Let's move over to the Memphis Grizzlies. John Morant went out with another injury last night, so we'll see what happens there for him. Not really sure what happened there with that, if it's a calf or an ankle or whatever it is. Jaren Jackson Jr. goes -1 to an 86. +1 for Cedric Howard to an 81. You don't know it, but +1 for Zach Edey to an 82 overall. We then get Cam Spencer getting a big bump, +4 to a 79. Jock Landale, +1 to a 78. Vince Williams goes -1 to a 75. Yes, there is an Operation Sports link. You can look it up on the thread. I didn't put it out on Twitter yet because obviously you didn't have the video ready to post. So you can find it on Operation Sports. You'll see the thread there that has the latest link for that. The Atlanta Hawks, Jalen Johnson goes only +1 despite numerous triple doubles. I thought he could be close to the 90 overall club, but is what it is. Onyeka Okongwu goes +1 to an 82. Vic Krejci +1 to a 77. Luke Kennard +1 to a 76. Asa Newell +1 to a 75. And Mo Gay -1 to a 74. Position changes for Caleb Houston and Nikola Diricic. They swap positions. Moving over to the Miami Heat, we get Tyler Hero going -1 to an 86. Khalil Ware -1 to an 80. And Pelle Larson -2 to a 75. Charlotte Hornets, Con Knipple goes +1 to an 84. We have Brandon Miller going -1 to an 81. Zion James going +1 to a 76. Tajon Ceylon +3 to a 75. KJ Simpson +1 to a 73. And then Liam McNeely +2 to a 72. Going over to the Utah Jazz, we get some changes for them. Ace Bailey drops -1 to a 77. Kyle Filipowski +1 to a 77. Isaiah Collier -1 to a 76. Walter Clayton +2 to a 75. And then Kevin Love +1 to a 75. So not a lot of changes for the Jazz. Likewise for the Kings, not a lot of changes. Keegan Murray goes -1 to an 80. Maxim Reynaud goes +3 to a 77. Precious Achua goes +1 to a 77. Drew Eubanks -1 to a 75 for him as well. New York Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns goes +1 to a 91. We get Josh Hart getting a boost, +2 to an 83. Tyler Kolek goes +2 to a 75 as well. We then go to the Lakers, and we get Rui Hachimura +1 to an 80. I don't know how LeBron is still a 92, but that's, okay, I guess, according to 2K. +1 for Marcus Smart to a 79. Jared Vanderbilt drops 1 to a 76 overall. Nick Smith Jr. gets a +1 to a 74, and then Gabe Vincent goes -1 to a 73 overall. Going over to the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, 87 overall, -2. Tristan De Silva goes -2 to a 75. Then we get Jace Richardson +2 to a 72. And then the Magic, just different with Banchero back. It just doesn't look the same. Wagner, like I said, with the injury, why they want to do the injuries the way they do is because of the Christmas holiday. Moving over to the Dallas Mavericks, Cooper Flagg gets a +3 to an 84. He's now tied with Con Knippel for the highest rated rookie in 2K. We get Najee Marshall +1 to a 79. He's been starting at the 2. They didn't change his position, though. Klay Thompson +1 to a 78, along with Ryan Nembhard +1 to a 78 as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in live. It's been a long time since I did a live. Usually I have time to prepare a video and all that stuff, but I do appreciate everybody watching. For those that are watching, can you click the thumbs up button for me? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. D'Angelo Russell shifts to shooting guard in this update. No ratings change for him, however. Brooklyn Nets, Michael Porter Jr. +1 for him to an 87 overall. Noah Clowney has a ratings change to 77 +2. Danny Wolf +2 to a 76. He's been playing out of his mind since getting an opportunity. +1 for Day'Ron Sharpe to a 75. -1 for Tyrese Martin to a 74. And Ben Suraf +4 to a 73 for him. Definitely improved after his G League stint. Small ratings changes for the Nuggets. Jamal Murray +1 to an 89. +1 for Tim Hardaway Jr. to an 80. And -1 for Cam Johnson, who's kind of been all over the place in a role player role for the Nuggets. -1 to a 79. Indiana Pacers, we get Andrew Nembhard +1 to an 82. TJ McConnell -1 to a 79. Jay Huff +1 to a 78. Then we have Ethan Thompson +4 to a 72. And then we have a newly added player to 2K, Gabe McLaughlin, gets put in on a hardship contract. They added him today. Moving over to the New Orleans Pelicans, Trey Murphy III gets a +1 to an 84 overall. Derek Queen moving his way up on the ratings scale, +2 to an 82. Jeremiah Fears and Sadiq Bey both go +1 to an 80. Meanwhile, we get Bryce McGowan's all the way down here, +2 to a 75, while Micah Peavy goes -1 to a 72. Weirdly enough, we still have like DeAndre Jordan at a 74 and Yves Missi at a 76. Those guys are way too high in rating, but it is what it is. 2K doesn't change it unless they play. Detroit Pistons, Jalen Duren drops -1 to an 87. Asar Thompson +1 to an 83. Tobias Harris -1 to an 80. Isaiah Stewart +1 to a 79. Donis Jenkins goes -1 to a 78. Moving over to the Toronto Raptors, one single ratings change for them. Emmanuel Quickley +1 to an 82. Houston Rockets, position change for Amen Thompson to back to point guard. We get Alperen Sengun goes +1 to an 89. Jabari Smith Jr. -1 to an 80. San Antonio Spurs, De'Aaron Fox +1 to an 88 overall. We get Stephon Castle +2 to an 86. Harrison Barnes +1 to a 79. Luke Cornett +1 to a 78. And Julian Champagnie +2 to a 77. Champagnie and Keldon Johnson swap positions in the roster as well. Moving over to the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker gets switched to shooting guard, but oddly enough, they left Jalen Green as a shooting guard. So when you start my NBA, it's going to be all over the place, but it is what it is, I guess. Dylan Brooks goes +1 to an 83. Mark Williams +1 to an 83. Colin Gillespie +1 to an 80. -2 for Grayson Allen to an 80. Osa Ighodaro +1 to a 75. Nick Richards -1 to a 74. Jamari Boye goes +3 to a 73. Mel, can you do me a favor? Can you write me on Twitter and let me know those jersey numbers? I'll get that over to 2K. Common Malawach -1 to a 73 as well. Just send that to me on Twitter in a DM and I'll get that over. Or you can post an additional comment on my video and list them out if you want to. It's not going to save it from the comments from this video, unfortunately, so I'm not going to be able to go back and look at it. So if you can send that to me, that'd be great. I'll get it over to them. OKC Thunder. We have Chet Holmgren +1 to an 89. We have Brandon Carlson +3 to a 73. And then Ousmane Dieng, we have +1 to a 73. Anybody asking about the retro stuff? I have no idea when or if an update's coming. I don't know. Nick Johnson actually was not in last year. That was through custom rosters, and so that wasn't the official roster. Minnesota Timberwolves got a couple changes for them. Julius Randle goes +1 to an 88. +1 for Naz Reid to an 83. Bones Highland gets a bump +2 to a 75. Jalen Clark goes -1 to a 73. And then Rob Dillingham goes -1 to a 72 overall. Portland Trailblazers, we have Jop Reith going +1 to a 73. Chris Murray dropping -1 to a 73. And that's it for them. Moving over to the Golden State Warriors. Got some position changes for them. Jimmy Butler to small forward. Draymond Green to power forward. Brandon Podziemski to shooting guard. Will Richard to small forward as well. So ratings change wise, we get Brandon Podziemski +1 to a 78. Moses Moody -1 to a 77. Quentin Post +1 to a 77. And then Pat Spencer getting a bump +3 to a 76 overall. Last but not least, the Washington Wizards. CJ McCollum +1 to an 82. Marvin Bagley gets a +1 to a 77. +2 for Justin Champagnie to a 76 overall. Cam Whitmore -1 to a 75. Tristan Vucevic +3 to a 74. And then Will Riley +3 to a 73. Let me know in the comments section what you think about this update. It was a light one for 2K. Hopefully at some point, we'll see a larger one, especially with the holidays. There will be an extra week in between updates. So we will see what happens. Let me look at OG Anunoby really quickly. Anunoby might have got a +1. I might have missed that one. So if I did miss that one, my apologies. I can't remember if he was 85 or 86. I think actually he did get a +1. So good call on that one for pointing that one out for me. Sometimes, like I said, going through it really quickly, I might miss a rating or two. So good catch on that one. But let me know down in the comments who else you think should have went up, who should go down, things like that. Thanks, everybody, for checking this live video out. I don't do very many live videos anymore, but this one I wanted to do live to get it out because I don't have a lot of time left to record it and then edit and all that stuff. So appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel as well. Happy holidays to everyone. Please stay safe if you're traveling. I hope everybody enjoys their Christmas and start of the new year. Safe, happy, and healthy. Until next time, take care and stay safe.